with an incredible drawback, the commencement speech. I have heard many commencement speeches. I remember very few of them. I do like the one from the year 2000 that was erroneously reported to be by Kurt Vonnegut, the one that begins with the advice, wear sunscreen. That's the only advice that I can give you that will make any sense in this speech. Nothing else really matters. I like that one. One of my favorite lines from that one is, enjoy the power and beauty of your youth. Oh, forget about it. You won't appreciate the power and beauty of your youth till they're gone. That's true. But I was very fortunate when I graduated from seminary. My commencement speaker was Desmond Tutu. Yeah, I remember that one. You know, he stood up there and said, "You will change the world." And we believed him because we knew his history and his story. And he did change the world. And he was challenging us to do the same. It was great. It was inspiring. But I received by an email this week a commencement address that I really liked. I read it. I saw it on YouTube. It was the commencement address at Butler University, where one of our own, Caroline Rogers, Karen Rogers' daughter, Catherine's sister, graduated this year from Butler. And John Green gave the commencement address. I don't know if you know who John Green is. He is probably right now the foremost young adult author in this country. By young adult, think teenagers. He's the best-selling right now. And he gave a commencement address that was just incredible. He started out by taking that trick that Fred Rogers used in all his commencement addresses. When he was invited to come and speak, he would say, I want you to think, all of you, not just the students, but the parents, the teachers, everybody who's here. I want you to think for a minute about all the people who helped you get to where you are today. And think with gratitude about everybody who made it possible for you to be here. And then allow a moment of silence to think about that. But then he went on to tell these wonderful graduates that they were about to enter a different experience. That they had been filled with all this great knowledge and all this wonderful stuff. And that they were at the top of their game as they graduated. And they were about to go out into the world and be the bottom of the totem pole. If they were lucky enough to get a job in this economy, they would be bringing other people their coffee. Or be correcting people who were calling them by the wrong name over and over again. And serving others and working their way up to try and get in and move forward. And it wouldn't be easy. But he said, this is a good thing. This is a good thing, he says, because you will learn how to help others, how to assist others, how to care for others without being a jerk. That's a good thing. That's a good thing, he says, because, as he goes on, if you pay attention in life, you'll learn that the story that you've been told about the hero's journey, that it is a journey from weakness to strength, is a lie. Is a lie. The true hero's journey is from strength to weakness. To be able to care for others. And to do good for others. To change the world for others. So that when they get to their commencement and somebody pulls that Fred Rogers trick of allowing a moment of silence to think about who got you to that day, then people will think of you. People will think of you. What a great commencement address. To tell people to go out, be the kind of person that raises others up, makes things happen for other people. That's kind of what's happening with Jesus when he sends out the 70. In a sense, he's giving the 70 their commencement address. The 70. Think about that for a minute. When we read the Gospels, we usually think of only the 12 who hang around Jesus, the apostles, the 12. We always hear about the 12 and the handful of women that came along on the trip. We forget that by the time Jesus was on his way to Jerusalem, he was drawing a following. He was drawing a crowd. People were listening to what he had to say. There was the feeding of the 5,000, not the 12, the 5,000. There were lots of people who were hanging around with Jesus. And out of that group, who had been hearing his stories and had been watching what he did and who had been listening to him, he chose 70 and said, I want you to go out and do what I've been doing. Go and make it happen. It was, in a sense, their commencement address. And they went out and did it. And they came back. And they said, even the demons submitted to us in your name. That's not the kind of language we use in our day and age. What they meant by that was, people's lives were changed. Good things happened. People were healed. People's lives turned around because of what we did. And so Jesus says, well, don't rejoice at that. Rejoice that your names are written in heaven, which would be the first century equivalent of saying, rejoice that someday when somebody has a moment of silence to think about all the people who brought them to this day, they're going to think about you. You know, it's no surprise that there's this parallel between Jesus sending out the 70 to change the world and John Green's commencement address about going out there and being of service. Because you may not know this about John Green. For a year he trained in seminary to become an Episcopal priest. And he decided not to do it once he did his clinical pastoral training. Because once he did his clinical pastoral training, and he had to deal in the hospital with children and teenagers who were dying, he said, I just can't do this. But to his credit, his most recent book is called The Fault in Our Stars. And it's the story of a young man, a teenager, dealing with terminal cancer and coming to grips with the meaning of life because of that. It's I haven't read the book yet, but this week I was doing research on John Green, and the reviews just are crazy about it. So he didn't go into seminary, but he still used that knowledge to be able to send a message to the world. But you know, it's not enough to send a message. That's why John Green's commencement speech is so good. It challenges to action. That's why Jesus sending out the 70 is so good, because it challenges them to action. Anybody can give a message. Some of you know this about me, but now all of you are going to know this about me. I am a big fan of the TV show South Park. Yes, I am. I really am. I know, it's really gross. I'm trying to stay hip. I know it's failing. But I love South Park. And one of the reasons I love South Park is because the writers know their theology. They do. Trust me, anytime they say anything about Satan or Jesus or God, they may turn it on its ear, but it's based in really good theology. And I just kind of go, where did they get this? I'm just amazed. And not only that, in order to be in touch with our young people, I have seen every movie that Seth Rogen has ever made. Yeah, I know it's sad. I even saw the most recent one, This Is the End. These movies are really gross. They're really gross. But you know what? Every single one of those movies has a message. I mean, really good messages. Things like Knocked Up and Zack and Mary and This Is the End and 40-Year-Old Virgin. These are movies about commitment, about faithfulness, about love and how it changes us for the better. There's movies about how self-sacrifice matters. These are good messages. They're still from Seth Rogen. They don't necessarily challenge us to go out and make a different world or a better world. No. See, that's the problem. The public image of Christianity these days is that all we got is a message, and we're telling everybody we're right. That's not enough. The problem with our politics these days is that each side has a message, and they want to tell everybody they're right without compromising or actually doing anything. That's not helpful. It's not enough to have a message. That's probably why most commencement speeches fall flat. They're just a message. John Green stood out to me. Desmond Tutu stood out to me. Jesus' message to the 70s stands out to me because it says, hear the message and then go and do something about it. Make the world a better place for somebody else, so that in that moment of silence in their commencement, they will think of us. After all, that's what we're challenged to do every Sunday. When our deacon gives the dismissal, go in peace to love and serve the Lord, not to remember the message. Go in peace. Go forth in the name of Christ. Go into the world rejoicing in the power of the Spirit. Be sent forth by a message to change the world. Amen.